I just wanted to welcome everybody here. Thank you so much for joining the Amazing Community and our webinar series. And today we're so glad to have Julia Huprich with us. She's going to be talking about how to define and build our skills with online learning. Hey there, Julia. I'm Naomi Kaufman. Nice to meet you all. And I lead the education strategy for Amazing Community. Our mission as an organization is focused on expanding the work horizon for women who are aged 50 and up. And the Amazing Community was focused to really help these folks get back into the workforce after either a career break, wanting to pivot to a new job, or continue to be competitive in their current career. Just to also let you know that at the end of the month, we have a really terrific event coming up on October 28th and 29th. It's our Inclusion by Design conference. It's being held in Manhattan and hosted by one of our partners, PwC. The theme this year is Women 50 Plus, claiming our workplace, claiming our place in the future of work. And at the end of the webinar today and in follow-up materials, I'll have the link posted so that you can register for that. At least take a look at the lineup and see what we're doing with that event. It's structured to give participants actionable things to walk away from. So the first day is a day full of workshops geared towards women 50 plus, and then the second day is panels of incredible speakers that we're so excited to have join and talk to us about the challenges and opportunities for us to change the dialogue in the workplace. And also just to let you know that one of our participants today in our webinar will be receiving, we're going to do a random drawing at the end, and we're going to give you a free ticket to that event. So stick around and we'll let you know if you've won that. Before I turn this over to Julia, I just wanted to make a couple of housekeeping announcements. One is we are recording the session today so that if you miss something or you want to share it with somebody else who couldn't join us, we will make that available to you. We will be sending a follow-up with the links to this recording, as well as information that Julia will be sharing with us. So don't worry if you can't scrabble, don't worry about writing down the URLs. Julie's got it all set up for us. And we'll forward that on to you. And just a reminder for those of you who are joining us now, I see a lot of you have kind of rolled in, please mute your voice control and just turn off your video, and then Julia's going to have us look at her slides along with that. I'm going to be monitoring the chat board during the session, and Julia will tell you also, but she's willing to take questions and comments in the middle of things, and then we'll also have 10 or 15 minutes at the end for some dynamic exchange as well through the chat board. So thank you again, and I just want to introduce our special guest today, Julia Huprich. She is the Vice President of Learning Initiatives at Intellum. Intellum is an innovative technology company that's revolutionizing customer education for companies like Google and Facebook. And Intellum is the company that's behind Catcat, which Julia is going to be sharing with us today. And that's an initiative that improves the way experts can share content, learners can share and consume information, and basically get access to great resources to help you be successful at work. So as part of her discussion, as I said, Julia will introduce us to Catcat. And Julia, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. And now over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Naomi. I think you introduced Catcat so well, and I think that pretty much sums up my presentation, so we'll go ahead and, I'm kidding. But it was a great introduction, and I definitely appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone, to share a few resources that I think will be very helpful for you, and a great opportunity for me to share some of my work, which hopefully will be informative and educational for you as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. Like Naomi said, there is a chat window as part of the Zoom platform. And so if you have any questions, please throw them in there. We'll answer them as they come in. I want this to be informal, and I want this to be a discussion. So definitely don't hesitate if you have any questions as I go through. So the first thing that I am going to do is just share my screen with everyone. I have a few slides to go through, and before we jump into some of the resources. So you all know about Amazing Community. You all heard about them. I think what they're doing is amazing, and I'm really excited to share with their community as well. They've been a great supporter of the Catcat project, which we'll talk about, and I think they're doing some really incredible work. Again, my name is Julia, and then I've got my email address at the end of the presentation. I do want you to feel free to reach out to me if you have additional questions. You know, as we go through this presentation, if you think of something later on that you didn't have a chance to ask, definitely reach out to me, and please connect on LinkedIn as well. So the one thing that I wanted to kind of start by talking about today is this concept that we talk about a lot on the Catcat team. And that's that everyone has an expertise in something. So we believe, and I firmly believe, that everyone has something that makes them stand out in some way. When I think about my career and the trajectory that I've gone through, there was a phase in my career where I was not really sure what I wanted to do. I was a librarian for a long time, but I wasn't really comfortable there. And I felt lost. I felt unsure of what my future held. And I kept coming back to this principle of what was it that made me stand out as a person professionally. And I was able to pivot. I was able to change the course of my career based on some characteristics that I had that helped me stand out. And during the course of today's webinar, I want you to think about what makes you stand out. And I have the words of my coach in my head. She would say to lean on my strengths. She would tell me to lean on the things that do make me stand out. And I think sometimes we all need like that person that says, hey, like, don't forget, you have that thing. You have that expertise. You have that strength. You have something that makes you unique. And we can leverage that to help you either pivot in your career or join the workforce after a break, or even go to the next level in your career trajectory. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through these resources today. What makes you stand out? I also wanted to introduce to you this concept of T-shaped people. Now, I had never heard of this before this article came out last year. So a T-shaped person is, I believe it was created by IDEO, the organization that does a lot of design thinking workshops. But they introduced this concept of a T-shaped person who has a broad range of knowledge in a lot of different things, but is a deep expert in one specific thing. And so I bring this up because in my own career path, I had to look really carefully at what I brought to the table and where I was maybe a T-shaped person. In my world, I had deep expertise in instructional design, in training other librarians on how to do certain things, generally in the technology area. And so I was able to leverage that expertise into a position in the software industry, which is where I am now. And so I think if we tend to think about ourselves in this way as maybe a T-shaped person, there's also like an M-shaped person who has deep expertise in multiple areas. There's the concept of an X-shaped person who has general expertise in an area, but then has leadership capabilities as well. So I think that if we tend to think about ourselves in terms of these shapes, if we think about our expertise in terms of these shapes, then we're able to kind of conceptualize them a little bit differently. I want to stop here because I think I see some chats. Oh, and just a reminder that if you do have any questions, to put them in the chat window and we'll grab them as they come in. So 2 things for you to think about. 1, what makes you different? What makes you stand out? And 2, what shape person are you in terms of your expertise? So 2 things that I want you to think about. As we go through, I linked over to that article in case you'd like to read it. And you'll see that in the resources that we send you to after the webinar. So don't worry. The next thing that I want to do, and where I really want to spend a lot of time, is in looking at a series of tools and resources. Now, like Naomi said, you don't have to worry about writing these down. We'll share them with you after the webinar. We'll send you an email, and then they will stay on the Catcat website as well. So we're going to look at a few different things. One is a website that is through the Department of Labor. And then another is, you heard Naomi talk about it, another one is Catcat. And so I'm going to start off with the tools and resources through the Department of Labor. But before we do that, I did want to share with you my email address as I promised. So it's just julia@intellum.com. You can reach me there, and we can send this out as well so that you can, like I said, email me later if you have questions about something that I covered during this presentation. So with that, I'm going to jump over to a series of websites, starting with, I'm going to start with Catcat, but also start with the Department of Labor. So hold on one second for me. All right, and if you do have any questions, just a reminder, toss them in the chat window. Okay, so I've taken all of these different resources that I like to use when we're talking about defining and building your skills, and I've built them into a course on Catcat. Now we'll talk about Catcat a little bit later, but before we did, I wanted to show you 3 different websites that I think you can use to help define your skills. Again, some people have questions about what they're good at or where their skills lie, where their strengths are. I've been really lucky in that I've had the support of people like my career coach who have helped guide me in this area. If you don't have a career coach, though, that's okay. There are some tools out there for you. I would say it's worth the investment of time and money to get a career coach if you can. But these resources are also fantastic. So the first one that I wanted to help or that I wanted to show you is one called the Skills Matcher. So it's through Career One Stop, which is under the American Job Center Network and sponsored by the Department of Labor. And one of the cool things about this site is that it gives you an opportunity to match your skills with positions that exist in the world, which for people who aren't really sure where they want to go, or if you were like me, you knew you had some skills, but you weren't sure how to transition them into another career, this is a great website for you. So it does a couple of different things. It asks you questions about where your skills rank on this scale from beginner to expert. And so as you answer these questions, and we're not going to go through all of them, but let me see if it'll let me skip. So as you answer these questions, at the end, it will give you a report that says, as a result of your skills, I'm just going to really quickly just pick a couple of things. I do not know how to show anyone how to bowl, so that is not true. But as we go through these questions, it helps to really define exactly what it is you're good at. And I know for people who are maybe re-entering the workforce after a long time, it's hard to know what it is you're really good at. And I think this tool does a good job at explaining exactly what, or at helping to really define what skills you are an expert at. So really quickly here, and I apologize, I meant to do this before we jumped on the call. Okay, almost done. There we go. All right. And so at the end of the survey, it gives you a series of careers that match your skills profile, which is fantastic. And then if you click on each one, it will give you additional information about those different careers. I also really like that it shows you your potential earnings, what education is required, and then what the career outlook is, which I think is a really important point. So, you know, we've got bright here, bright outlook for arbitrators who require a bachelor's degree and have a potential of earning around $62,000. You can also filter out by education some of these different different positions. So if I know I'm working on an associate's degree, then it will narrow that down for me based on what I'm good at. And of course, I just selected some options, so it didn't necessarily give me any like real results. But so when you click on the job, it gives you information about what those people do, the projected employment, hourly wages, the whole 9 yards. You can find certifications or license details, or even local training. So if you aren't entirely sure where you need to go or what you need to do, but you know kind of sort of what you're good at, this is a great tool for you. The next one that I wanted to show you is called My Skills, My Future. And so again, this is another one from the Department of Labor. And so, and the American Job Center Network. And so what this one does is it gives you, it takes your current job, if you have one, and helps you transfer those skills to a new position that's similar. So if I put in librarian in this one, it gives me a series of positions that are very similar to the one that I had previously. So it says instructional coordinator is one that's very popular. So if I click on that one, much like the other site, it gives you a description, it gives you details, tells you what typical training is required, what tools and technology are needed. I like these because it does give you a really great overview of these different positions, and then you can compare your skills and, better yet, see job listings, which I think is really important. So you can narrow this down or change the job posting source, things along those lines. Naomi, do we have any questions before I jump into the next thing?
No questions yet. There's been some comments about the comment about the T-shape concept, and then just how the Career One Stop is a great place to get started thinking about thinking of your skills in a different way than a person may think of themselves. So just some commentary going back and forth here.
Absolutely, and I would 100% agree with that. These are definitely great resources to help discover and help uncover some of those things so that you can find the job that's right for you. I wanted to also share with you this site, or this page rather, that's on Career One Stop, and it has industry data. And so I really like seeing what maybe the fastest growing industries are. And so that information is covered here. You can look at, the 2026 employment projections, which I think is really important, especially if you're considering going to school for something or earning another certification or, things along those lines. Like if you're projecting out your career, if you're projecting out the next, 2026 really isn't that far away, but it's the next, 7-ish years, then this is a really great way to look to see where that growth will be. You can also look at things like areas with declining employment, which I think is really important as well. So, okay, so I'm a big fan, as you can tell, of some of these websites because you can get a sense of what your skills are, what you might be good at, where you can transition to if you already have a job, and how you can leverage your skills in terms of bringing your best self to the workplace, right? So with all of that being said, and I shared a little bit about my career journey, and I went from the library to training to software. I wanted to share with you a project that I've been working on that I think can be really helpful for you, especially as you're building your skills. And it's a project called Catcat. So Catcat is a website that we've been working on for the past maybe 3 years or so. It all started because my CEO has a vision that you can learn what you need to be successful at work by leveraging freely available content online. And the foundation of this belief is that he taught himself how to code using free resources that he found on the web. Now, this was 20 years ago. Things have changed a little bit, but I think that the underlying theory that anyone should be able to learn anything at any time, and that it shouldn't be gated by paywalls or membership fees, things along those lines, I believe in that. It's something that we preached at the library where, you give away information. Excuse me. It's something that really has been a core belief in my life, is that we should all be able to learn what we need to learn to be successful at life, really. And so we built this website where let me show you. We built this website where you can learn in these 9 different domains, different things related to business and financial operations or marketing, sales, and advertising. Let's click on that one. All kinds of different content. And what we've done is we've compiled these courses so that they link out to useful resources around the web. So for example, with a sales guide to the galaxy, we have some instructional content there that our curators, our experts, our internal staff have written. And then we have links that go out to other websites or YouTube videos or podcasts or whatever the case may be. So they're kind of like playlists. And one of the cool things about the site is that as you go through it, you can track your learning. Accounts are free. You can just sign up. You can use your Google credentials if you'd like. And then you can go through some of these different resources and learn new skills. So this one is about sales. But we have over 300 courses on all kinds of different things. And some of them have been curated, like I said, by internal staff. But we've also worked really hard to find experts who would curate resources for us and for you. So we've reached out to authors, experts, professors, people who are leaders in their field, all kinds of different people and they have curated all of these different courses for you. So,
Julia, it's
yes,
Naomi. Can you just talk a little bit about curation? You know,
yes.
what does that mean, particularly in this context?
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you asked. So in the context of this site, when we talk about curation, we talk about going out and finding really valuable content online and evaluating it. And we do that using a series of criteria that I derived from the Digital Library Federation. And so I built this methodology for developing courses using curated content so that we are evaluating the resources, not just on things like whether or not the content like reads well or is accurate, but we're also looking at things like who the author is and whether or not they're an authority in their field. So we have a really high standard when it comes to that curation. And so I just want to show you a couple of other examples here. So this is interpersonal skills, and this is a skills assessment. And so this is a quiz of sorts, and you can go through here and test your interpersonal skills. We've linked out to podcasts and journal articles and blog posts and all kinds of different things to help you learn whatever this topic is that is the path topic. So maybe this one's getting interpersonal, but if we dive into some of these other topics, you'll see we've curated a lot of content that in areas that can help you build certain skills. And we've tried to keep it very skills based. So in terms of our curriculum map, if you will, we've looked at a couple of different things. We've looked at the top 15 positions in the United States, and we derived different topics from the tasks that those positions were responsible for. So it was positions like customer service agents and manager and things along those lines. And so we looked at the topics that those positions would need to cover or would need to have expertise in. And that's how we determined what the site needed to cover. So phone skills for everyone, for example, is one that came up pretty early on. And just as a basic skill that a lot of people need that some people don't have, and that's okay. The purpose of this site is to help people build those skills and to identify those resources that they need in order to build those skills the most effectively.
Julia, and it's Naomi again. I just wanted to jump in. One of the things that I found particularly compelling about Catcat is that we can search through the obvious search engines, and there are so many resources out there for learning or reading or whatever. But what Catcat really does is pull together information so that we don't have to necessarily go out and look to the four corners to try and find something. An expert has already said, here's a topic, and here are what I think are the key resources that will be useful for you to learn how to do phone work, or how to create a marketing survey, or how to leverage a certain technology. And all of the links go to some place that has no charge associated with it, no fee associated with it.
Right. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it is the context that is so valuable. The context that the experts add to each piece of content is one of the things that we feel is really a differentiator, so that it's not just a listing of articles. It's, you should read this article and here's why. And I know that we've been really lucky to work with some really fantastic experts who have helped walk us through how to do something specific, and then given us that, oh, here's inclusion by design, given us those resources that they feel are the most important, the best ones, so that you're not searching on Google and maybe not discovering that one really great resource that someone else has already read and has recommended for you, right? So this is a great opportunity for people to learn from experts, but it's also a great opportunity for experts to demonstrate their expertise. Now, again, at Catcat, we believe that everyone is an expert in something. You have years of experience, or you have a depth of knowledge in a specific area, and we're all curators at heart. I think that we've all shared an article with a friend or a colleague, or sent a podcast to someone and said, hey, you really need to listen to that. That's what curation is. And so this website gives an opportunity for people to put those resources together in an order that makes sense, or what I call has a cohesive instructional narrative. So you have that narrative, and then you also get that context. So it's really easy to curate. Anyone can do it, which I think is an important point. And so all you have to do is click on this big red button. And when you do, it starts a new path for you. Now, when we talk about a path, it's really like that playlist, that course. So we encourage people to give their path a description, some learning objectives, to talk about what it is people will actually get from the path. And again, keeping in mind that we really are skills focused and skills based. We're kind of a half a step behind competency-based training, where you would necessarily like demonstrate expertise at the end. So we're just kind of a half a step behind that, but we do like to focus on skills. We have some soft skills content as well, but when we're curating, we're looking for those like hard, specific skills. So when you start your path, you can title it whatever you like, give it a description, give it a section name, and then you can start by adding your activities. And it's as simple as pasting in a URL. When you do that, it pulls in metadata from the website, pulls in the title, the description, maybe any images, and then you can tweak those if you would like to change them. When you're done, you can select a topic and publish it. Also, you can add some art. I have some extra little options here because I'm an administrator of the site. So you can just ignore those. But when you're done, your path will look something like one of these. So this one doesn't have a cover image, but if we click on it, you can see that this person who is, she's amazing. We have a series of partners who we work with, which is kind of a side tangent. We work with groups like the Atlanta Mission and Wellspring Living. Wellspring Living helps women who have been sexually trafficked or are at risk for sexual trafficking. It helps them get jobs and build their resume and that kind of thing. And so Paula actually has really been fantastic and has actually worked directly with that organization. We've been able to partner them together, and she's help the women build LinkedIn profiles and things along those lines. So it's been really fantastic. So I really like this path. She tells you exactly what you're going to get from it. And then this one, she does something a little bit different. She actually wrote a lot of this content, and we kind of went back and forth on that because we've always been a curation platform, but she does give some links as well, which I think is important. but you'll notice hers are a little lengthier. So just something to keep in mind. As you're going through and diving into the site, I want to point out a couple of features. One is plan. What you can do as you go through the site is you can add things to your plan. One of the great things about that is that it will track your learning. And so I can just do that by clicking plan. When I come back to the site, I can go back to my plan instead of diving into the catalog, and then I can just go through and see what I have on my plan that I need to finish. And it will track your learning for you, which is great. Naomi, I saw a little blip. Did we have any questions in the chat?
We're just letting people know that Paula is on the line too, and
Awesome.
Paula's glad to be contributing to Catcat.
Paula has been so amazing. She even helped us with directly help. There was one woman who needed to work on her LinkedIn profile. Like that was the one thing that she needed to do. And Paula actually worked directly with her and gave her some pointers on HR analytics, which is an area that Paula has expertise in. So one of the cool things is that we are able to connect experts with people who really do need their expertise. And I think it's such an amazing opportunity to really help impact someone's life that way. So thank you so much, Paula.
So Julia, is it common? Sorry, I didn't mean to talk on top of your gratitude. Is it common for people who create the paths for them to be willing to be contacted or connected with people? Do you find that happens? Folks?
I do. I will say that the same people who feel compelled to help us, the same people who are excited to share their favorite resources with the public are the same people who would directly help someone. It's like that same motivation. And so we've been so incredibly fortunate that we do have some core people who we've reached out to time and time again. And we've said, hey, we know this person at the Atlanta Mission is looking for content around customer service. Can you help them? And they've jumped to it and used our platform to identify these resources that people should go through in order to build their customer service expertise. It's been very humbling just to see that happen. It's been really amazing. So yeah. One of the other things that we've done recently is we've partnered with other organizations that do produce content that's for a specific fee. One of the ones that I can think of is on remote work. And so there's an organization and they provided us with, I'm looking for it now, they provided us with a sampling of their paid course. Here it is, Managing Remote Workers. And so you can watch part of the course. And then if you'd like, they've given some information on how you can sign up for the full class. So that's one of the ways that we've been able to leverage partnerships to bring some of that content in front of the paywall so that it's not for pay exactly. And again, if you wanted to go through that whole course, you could on their site, but they've given us a part of it for free. So you can watch some of those videos here.
Julia, we have about 5 minutes left, and I just wanted to, I'm not sure what else you wanted to wrap up with, but can you show people just where they need to go to create their login on here. And then can you also just click to show that the Amazing Community has some resources out here that we're going to continue to build on?
Absolutely. I was going to close with Amazing Community.
Right.
And so, but I'm glad you reminded me about logging in because of course I was already logged in and I forgot, but logging into Catcat is easy. You can sign in with your Google credentials or you can create an account. So either signing in that way or you can set up your own username and password. We do have a little checkbox here that where you can sign up for our Catcat updates. So we do send a newsletter out once a week that includes information about who we're featuring, what courses have come out, maybe what's coming up, in the coming weeks that you keep an eye out for. But you actually don't have to sign in at all. We would love for you to, but you can navigate through all of the content without ever signing up. Like we really believe in this concept of free and open and democratized and all of that. So that's the login piece. Now, I know we have just a couple of minutes and I do want to show the Amazing Community content. And so we have a page here dedicated to the Amazing Community and everything that you guys are doing to help women thrive in the workplace. And so we've actually linked over to some content that you've curated around different workshops or different tools, some tech tips. I love these confidence boosters. I think these are really amazing. So Naomi, you had linked out to like Brene Brown, Amy Cuddy, who's incredible. And so many great resources here that you can find, on vulnerability or power poses or anything along those lines. So, and then of course you can watch a video from Stella. So, yeah, so we are, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that we are looking at a series of positions that are related to sales and marketing. And then we're also looking at a series of positions around customer service. And so that's what we'll be focusing on in the coming months. But if you have any requests, if there's anything that you would like to see, we would love to have suggestions, requests from the audience. Always, we always love working on those. We actually have a dedicated person who works, she's amazing. She works to find experts on specific topics. Like that's her job. She's kind of a LinkedIn stalker. She's super good at it. And so I'm excited to have somebody like her on the team. But she's really good at finding people. And so if you have a topic idea, please let us know. Conversely, if you do have expertise in something and you would like to share some of your favorite resources, we would love to have you. We couldn't do this site without the community. So definitely appreciate the contributions of everyone here and everyone who has contributed. So I think that's about it for me, Naomi, but tell me if you have, if you've received any questions or anything.
Julia, thank you so much. You kind of took us on a journey from talking about how to think about your own unique skills, about how to do some exploration, and use some resources online to try and plug your skills into some other job opportunities or other ways to think about how to package yourself. And then also bringing us to Catcat, where then if you have some areas where a person feels like they need to brush up on their skills or a gap because they want to do a different job or are re-entering the workforce but don't feel as confident with their online skills, or what is Slack, or how do I use Google tools, or any of those things, that there's so many resources that you can search on in Catcat and learn those things.
Yes.
So thank you so much for that. I'm going to open it up to the group for some questions, and I encourage you to please use the chat board.
Yeah.
And Julia will be here. Let's see, we do have a question here. To what extent do we include what we've learned online on our resumes? So I think the question here is, if someone is using resources like Catcat, how do you suggest that we include that information so that future employers know that we invested that time?
I think that's an excellent question. And I would say I'm not a resume expert. We have some paths on building your resume, and we actually have a path on building a skills-based resume, which I think is really cool. So I would defer to any expert who we have on the call. What I would say is that when I hire people, I always look to see if they're a lifelong learner. And so it might not be listed on their resume, but it might be on their LinkedIn profile or something like that. The different awards that they've gotten or certifications that they've earned or whatever the case may be. And I value people who are lifelong learners. And so that's one piece that I would share with you. So Naomi, I don't know if we have anybody else who would like to speak to that in terms of marketing your learning experience. But I do think that there's a value there.
The way that I've seen it is that in the education, either in the sort of summary at the top, you've talked about, you can find some way to weave in other experiences that you may have had. Another way to do it is in the education section, where someone might list certificate, in addition to whatever degrees they may or may not have. You can list the kinds of coursework, if you will, or online learning that you've done there. I think the next question then becomes well, how do we get to a certification level on some things? And some of the resources there do provide that, or resources like Coursera or edX. But I think to do a description of the things that you have done is have it be a conversation starter, so that as you go through the employment process, you get to highlight those things.
Yeah, I think that's such good advice. And as you were talking about the different certifications, I wanted to point out on this path on Catcat that I developed for defining and building your skills, I linked over a few where you can earn free certifications, or you can earn certifications, excuse me. They do charge for like the validation of the certification. And then another resource that I wanted to share with you is it's from the Goodwill Community Foundation. So it's GCF Learn Free. So gcflearnfree.org, and they have a ton of different classes on like Excel or computer basics or all kinds of technology things, and some life skills as well. I bring it up because they used to give certifications, and then they recently quit. And so I actually had a conversation with their executive director to see, like, are you going to bring those back or not? And so he's talking about it. He's thinking about doing that. So, but they have some really great content here that walks you through a lot of really cool skills that you can use in the workplace. So.
And what I have found particularly about this site is that it's very current for technology. So it's got all the most recent versions of software and applications and things like that. Mm-hmm. We have another question, and this is a question that I've had myself from time to time. Do you have any suggestions or resources where you can find career or life coaches other than personal referrals or random internet searches? Are you aware of any resources that people could use to try and find those experts?
I would like to ask someone on the call if they know. Carolyn, do you know, is there like a database of, I was super lucky because my coach had signed up to be a volunteer through the Association for Talent Development, which is an organization that I was also volunteering with. And so I reached out to her to see if she would be a volunteer. And she mentioned that she was a career coach. And I thought, well, we could flip this and you could help me and I could help you and we could, work together. So, Carolyn, do you know?
Hi.
Hi. Sorry to throw you like into the spotlight.
No, that's okay. No problem at all. Well, there's not one central location. It's a great question. There is an international, it's called ICF, an International Coach Federation. And these are people who have worked very hard to study the profession, to make sure that they are ensuring that they have the skill set, the knowledge, and the integrity, that they're not just fly by night. And they're very high qualifications to become ICF certified. So that would be a starting point. There may be some strictly for career coaches. I'm not sure. Google is a great resource for that. But personal referrals are great. Take a look into, because a lot of coaching is about a connection. Mm-hmm. It's about the person has to have the skill set. Part of it is innate, part of it is education. So I wish I could give you a specific site, but if you are someone like myself that I really value credentials, then you could start at the International Coach Federation website.
Thank you, Carolyn. Appreciate that.
Carolyn. Yeah, and I can give you a personal referral if that's what if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Stella, did you have something you wanted to add?
I had the International Coaching Federation in mind as well, and I think this could be a great opportunity for the amazing community to curate some of the sources of coaches as part of the resources. I think this could be a great way for us to play in this space as well and bring value to our members. So, thank you for the question.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? We have a couple more minutes left. Does anyone else have some questions? Let's see. Linda said she does career coaching and knows others as well, and she'd be happy to refer anyone. Linda, do you want to share your email or contact information in the chat, and then we can also send it out with our follow-up information? Either way is fine. Oh, there we go. So in the chat box, Linda just shared some contact information, and we'll make sure we include that out with the email as well.
One category that I wanted to make sure that I highlighted was this life skills and self-help section. So that's where you'll find this path, the define and build your skills, but then also things like managing gaps on your resume and other amazing community workshops. So those are here. And then also, things like smuggling your resume past the army of bots, because that is tough. And then, even things like making your dreams a reality. So like I said, we've got some like soft stuff in there as well. So some good tips, I think.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Julia, for showing just the breadth, giving a hint at the breadth of information that's available through Catcat. I'm going to wrap us up here now. And again, say thank you for sharing your insights and suggestions, and Carolyn and others, thanks for jumping in, and Stella for having some other suggestions of resources. We hope that you've been able to really get a sense of how to think about your skills and online resources that are available to you through the session today. Also, just wanted to remind you about our Exclusion by Design conference that's happening on October 28th and 29th. And there's a link in the chat window now for that. Just going to put that out there. And then we'll also include that for our follow-up email to you. You can also visit our website, the amazing.community website, where you can sign up for a newsletter that is sent out once a week with some really good tidbits of information and other resources for you. Please follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. We'll also forward to you Julia's contact information so that you can reach out to her. And Julia, thank you so very much. And thanks to our amazing community of people who have joined us today. And I hope you have a terrific, terrific rest of your day.
Thank you all so much.